On today's episode of Renovation Nation, we're making this recycled coffee cup flower pin. The idea for this project came to me the other day when I was walking out of a coffee shop and I could see all of the coffee cups sitting in the trash can, and I thought, can we make something out of those? So I got myself some coffee cups and designed this project. So I decided to make a flower. So I have folded a piece of index card in half, and I did a 1-inch petal and a 1 3/8 inch petal, and marked it out on the index card and then cut it out so that I would get a larger petal and a smaller petal. And then to cut them out of the coffee cup, I went ahead and I take my pattern and marked it out on the coffee cup and then cut this out. So once you've cut out 5 of the small petals and 6 of the larger petals, you want to put a hole in each petal. So to do that, I use a safety pin, and I kind of hold it up towards the top with my fingers and try not to stab yourself, and put a hole towards the base of each petal. So you're going to go through and put a hole in each one. And once you've done that, you're going to mix the liquid Fimo with the Judykins Rustique Patina Jade Embossing Powder, and I've mixed those together in this smaller container. And you can use either a flat craft stick, or I'm using, keeping with my coffee cup theme, I'm using the actual coffee stopper as my spreader. And then I'm going to spread the liquid clay embossing powder mixture onto the back. You want to do not too heavy a layer, because if you do, it can run down too much to the edges and you'll have kind of a little pool of liquid clay at the bottom. And then once I've done this with all of my petals, these are going to be the backs of the petals, what I did is I rolled up an index card and then just put 2 paper clips on the end to form a base to bake my petals on. And then I line up all my petals on this, and it goes in the oven for 20 minutes at 265. Next, I'm going to prepare my clay for the front part of the petals for the flower. So I've rolled out the Fimo Soft. This is the purple violet. You can also use the raspberry on the 3rd thickest setting on my pasta machine. And I'm using the Judykins Clay Squisher. This one is called Flourish. I'm using the Judykins Embossing Powder in translucent gold, and I have found that using my finger really works the best, because you want to get the embossing powder into all of the little crevices, and that way you can really see the pattern. So I take a little bit on my finger and rub it around, and that way you can see the whole pattern. And then once I get that done, I take my square of clay and lay it over, and then I want to squash it on there a little bit. Technical term, squash. And then I'm going to lay a little piece of deli paper over the top and use an acrylic roller, just so that the clay is going into the crevices to pick up the embossing powder. And once you've done that, you can peel it out. And you have a pattern piece of clay that looks like that. So I have baked up my petals on the back side that have the embossing powder mixed in with the liquid clay, and I just wanted to show you the color difference. So if you use just the embossing powder over the cardboard of the paper cup, you get this color, but if you're baking it with the liquid clay, you get this effect. And the reason I use liquid clay with it is so that in the second baking, If we don't put the liquid clay in there, your embossing powder would then run and it would stick to whatever you're baking your piece on. So that's why we use the liquid clay on the back of the petals. Now we didn't need to do the front of the petals. So I'm using these same patterns that we made at the beginning, and I'm going to lay them over my clay, and using the Judy Ken's pen knife, I can just cut out my petals. You're going to do this 6 times for the large and then 5 times for the small. So have that. And then you want to put a hole in the one end. So the end of my petal has a hole there. So I've made a hole with my safety pin, and then I'm going to use just plain liquid clay without any embossing powder in it, and put a very light amount on the front side of my petal, just so that it's sticky but not runny. And then I'm going to take my petal and lay it over. And the nice thing I discovered about using coffee cups is because they're formed to be curved, they stay curved even with the clay on them. And if you use just cardboard or an index card, you would not get that effect. So, and then I just pinch it ever so slightly around the edge. And that's 1 petal. So you're going to continue and do the other 10 petals, and then put them in the oven and bake them for 30 minutes at 265 degrees. So now, using a 24 gauge wire, I've cut 6-inch pieces, and if you're concerned that your hole doesn't go all the way through, you can always take your safety pin and go back through to make sure you have a hole all the way through. And then you want to put one end of your wire through the hole and out the other side. And then we're just going to twist the wire right at the base of the petal so that you have a wire with a wire stem on each petal. Just do the rest of these so that we have all of these ready. And then you also want to look for an antique button that has a shank on it. And the shank is a little rounded portion like that. This is an antique brass button that I found. And you want to put a wire on the button as well. And I'll show you, I've done the wire here. So you have a button with a wire stem as well. And then you're going to hold your button and put your first 5 petals around your button. So once you have your 5 small petals around your button in the center, you want to take another 6-inch piece of wire and, holding it around the back, wrap it around all of your petals like so. And like I said, you can always go back, because these are all wired together, you can always go back and rearrange them. And then you want to take your 6 bigger petals and arrange them around. And you can leave your ends of your wire hanging out, because you can always come back and trim those off. I missed a stem there, there we go. Kind of like floral arranging with petals. So you just want to have them evenly spaced, more or less. Lost one there. All evenly spaced, more or less. There we go. And then I'm going to take another 6-inch piece of wire and wrap those together in the back. So now we have a flower, and I'll show you how to finish it up. So I've gone ahead and clipped my ends off, and so you can see the completed flower, and then on the back I've cut it down to 1.5 inches. I flipped over the bottom of it and wired it together. So now all we need to do is add a pin back so that you can wear it. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of wire and attached it to a 1-inch pin back like so, and I'm going to lay this on with the hinge up towards the flower. If you can, keep it open. This is hard to hold on there. And then I'm going to just start wrapping. And I'm going to wrap my pin back onto the stem of the flower. Keep it open. Keep this straight. There we go. And once you've completed that, you can always bend your flower over, and then you can wear it on your jacket.
We hope you're enjoying our Renovation Nation series, sponsored by Judykins. Please follow us on social media. Sign up on our website, and you'll be eligible to win a prize package full of products from some of our favorite sponsors. And remember, as we always say, when creativity knocks, open the door.